We are almost. No, we should be live. All right. I think this is like. Hold on. This is up too high.
You're up a little bit high, but you could deserve. You deserve to be there.
Yeah, but I'm trying to get a little closer to the microphone. We're supposed to be talking about Duke, so Duke wins 85-79.
All right, we feel good about that.
Caden Boozer, first career start.
Feel good about that.
And outside of that, I would say there's a lot of things that probably need to be improved for this Duke team as we go into the new year of 2026. And our sound technicians agree. Apparently, they are barking away at that comment. And how could you not be? Look, the last 3 games for Duke have been tough. And the reason I say that is not like they're 2-1, and their one loss they lost by 1 point. So it's not like they're if you just looked at the scores of the games, you wouldn't come away saying, "Oh, this team is like in a lot of trouble right now." But they've given up the 3 most points they have all season in individual games, the last 3 games. The 3rd most points in the Lipscomb game, the most points against Texas Tech, and now the 2nd most points here against Georgia Tech. And the concern for me is the defense, which had looked so good, in the first, I guess we're, 12-1 now? So the first 9 games of the season. And now it looks suspect. Now, certainly, the fact that they've played 3 games in 3 weeks has something to do with that. We got to be, we can be objective and say the defense has been bad, but we can also give them a reason for maybe why it's been bad. But I don't know. What have you thought about their performances, not just tonight, but in the last couple of games?
Well, there's one thing I wanted to correct about feeling as bad as I did in losing the Texas Tech game, because it's how we lost that game that made me feel bad. But it was honestly, as Coach Shire made a point of saying, it was all pre-conference play. And during that period, we went 11-1. And so if you look at the totality of the work, it's just having built up to that point and then lose the way we did is also what bothers me about winning tonight. It's New Year's Eve. I'm going to feel good that we win. Certainly wouldn't have been happy if we lost. But there is a lot to be broken down here as we talk about the game.
Yeah, and I think like if we came on here and just said, or at least I'll speak for myself. If I came on here and just said, I'm happy Duke won. They won the game. That's all that matters. With where Duke is trying to get to this season, I think I have to be objective about how they're playing. Because the goal for Duke is not to make the NCAA tournament. It's not to make it to the Sweet 16. It's to be a Final Four team or better, hopefully. And so tonight's performance defensively was concerning. At one point early in the second half, Georgia Tech was shooting like 73% from the field. Now, some of that is a little bit of tough luck in the sense that Georgia Tech was hitting everything, but a good percentage of that was defense just not being active and engaged, poor communication, often switches at times. It reminded me a lot of the first exhibition game against UCF, where just the defense was just not cohesive and connected. Now, some of that, I think, is, again, because of the breaks. Now, like, Georgia Tech had just played a couple of days ago, so I think they were more in a rhythm than Duke was. And certainly the other problem for Duke in this game, and it has been for a few games now, the shooting in general has just been poor.
What was the 3-point shooting?
We're going to get to the stats in a couple of minutes here, but I think they finished somewhere around 28%. And the free throw shooting didn't get any better in this one either. And so you combine poor defense, poor shooting from three and the free throw line, while Georgia Tech turned the ball over more than when Duke still turned it over more than average, but certainly not the Lipscomb game. It wasn't like that. And so in a lot of ways, you come out of this one feeling a little bit lucky that Duke was able to pull this one out with a 6-point win. Now, the one thing I will give them major credit for in this game, offensive rebounding. They were on the glass consistently in this game, and that's really what gave them the edge, along with them getting to the free throw line a lot. Even though they didn't make a large percentage of them, they did get to the line a lot, which really helped them in this game against Georgia Tech, who they started the game 5 for 6 from 3, and you're thinking, all right, they're going to cool off. They're not going to shoot like this. They did not cool off until, credit to Shire, he made the adjustment and had Duke go to a zone, which it seemed to morph between different types of zones as well. Like it started off as like a 2-3, and then they were doing the 2-1-2 press. Then they had, when Malik came in, they were doing
I think the press was 1-2-2 because
1-2-2
because they put Malik
at the top. Yeah, and then they had the 3 bigs in as well because they wanted Malik at the top of the zone. They didn't feel like they were doing a great job there. I did feel like initially with the length of Sar and Hemenia, they were doing all right, but then I think they gave up a 3. Hemenia didn't rotate over, and then from there it seemed like the zone defense wasn't quite as good until Malik came in. So just overall, not a good performance by the Blue Devils, but to your point, to Shire's point after the Texas Tech game, they get to 2026, the new year, 12-1. And if you asked anybody, if you asked me, forget anybody, if you asked me the start of the season, how would you feel if Duke's 12-1 when we get to the new year? I'd say that's amazing. I'd sign up for that 10 times out of 10. So it's kind of a funny thing that I'm sitting here being pretty critical of a 12-1 Duke team as we enter the new year.
I think that's part of the fun of doing the show the way we do, which is to say that we watch every minute of every Duke game, and so we're not the kind of Duke fans that'll look at a 6-point win and say, or being 12-1 and say, that's great. We go in depth and we look at all the things about it because we're always looking at that experience in the ACC tournament, in March Madness, where we're going to go down to the wire. What are the things that could affect us that need to be corrected by then?
Yes, and I know you've harped on it. Like the free throw shooting. If you're gonna pick one thing, that I think the defense we've seen this Duke team play great defense. So that's not going to be the thing that I'm going to say. Like I feel maybe a little bit less confident because this is the 3rd game in a row where the defense hasn't been good, but I feel confident that they are going to get back to being a good defensive team. But the free throw shooting throughout the year has, even in games they've won handily, has not been good, or I should say hasn't been great in any game. And so that is something where it's going to need to improve. Now, fortunately, there are more than 20 games with the ACC tournament before we get to March Madness, so hopefully we can gradually see an improvement there. And I do think some of the guys like Gangba, as of late, has been, I want to say, like around a 50% free throw shooter. At the start of the year, when he would go to the line, I was very confident in Gangba, so I think he'll get it together there. But I want to say Caden Boozer played really well in this game. He was attacking the basket. He was setting guys up. I thought defensively he had a number of steals. I thought in a game where Duke didn't defend well, he had some really positive moments on that end of the court. And I think he really responded well to his first start of his college career.
You realize that by having Caden start with Evans, Foster, Gangba, and Cam that the only guy off the bench that gave us anything was Malik. And it was another night where Sar and Humenya, and I don't know whether they gave Evans a chance, but they felt like Harris a chance that in fact, they felt like he wasn't going to be the guy contributing. So instead of a 9-man rotation against a team like Georgia Tech, we were playing 6 players.
Yeah, I mean, Hamenia and Sar definitely had some minutes, but they weren't particularly productive.
Nope.
Now, Harris, that is one thing I listen. In the past, before we had this show, there was a period of time in Jaden Schutz's first season, I think that's how you say it, with the Blue Devils, where we would sit there and watch the games and say, why is this guy not playing? And then when Shire finally played him, we were like, oh, he's not playing because he's a hard time guarding people. Now, Darren Harris is not the best defensive player, but we've seen him this year in big games, in 10, 12-minute stretches, play well. And I thought he'd been building. Even the Texas Tech game, I thought he gave us some positive minutes off the bench. I thought he played well. He had a good spurt in Michigan State. He had a decent spurt in Florida. So that is one thing I'm critical of the coaching staff and Shire of in this game in particular. It's not like we were guarding anybody in the first half anyways. And we couldn't shoot. So to me, it was a great opportunity to give Darren Harris an extended run because we were giving up threes left and right anyways. So I don't think we would have lost much defensively, but he could have given us a major boost offensively with his shooting.
Well, especially as you pointed out during the game, for as long as we remained in a zone, why couldn't Harris have been on the court?
And especially when we had Malik out there. Like, he could have been one of the 2 guards with either a Foster or a Caden. And Malik is out there, doing the bulk of the work on the perimeter of the zone. So I think this was a missed opportunity to get Darren Harris more minutes because, as you said before, we didn't get anything, certainly offensively, from Sar and Humenya. And so I think there was a good opportunity, especially when we were in the zone, and quite frankly, throughout the entire game, because the first half we didn't guard anyway, so we're already giving up. I think Darren Harris should have played more, and I can't grade his performance in this one based off of his 3 minutes. When he came in with 4 minutes and change to go in the first half and immediately grabbed a rebound and didn't see much of the ball in the 2 minutes and change he played really after that. So let's go to the stats.
Well, just one more thing. Harris might have been, it was still, there was only 3 minutes and 14 seconds left in the game and we were up 1. And so offense was still at a premium. Maybe you didn't want to throw him in at that point because he hadn't been playing for so long and you were happy with the guys you had, you decided these are the 5 we're going to play with and that's who we're going to go with. But it'd be interesting. Let's go to when we see the minutes and the stat.
All right, so hold on, slide in a little bit here. There you go. All right. Cam Boozer played almost the entirety of this one. 38 minutes, 26 points, 12 rebounds, couple assists, 4 turnovers, 2 steals. It's strange to say because if you just look at the box score, 26 points, 12 rebounds, couple assists, couple of steals, you would say, I know he had 4 turnovers, but you would say he had a great game. But watching the game, I think he was good offensively, but the turnovers were not good. You can live with Cam, I think, 2-3 turnovers at most with how much he played in the game and how much he has the ball. But just some of it was he just wasn't strong with the ball. But to me, what doesn't show up here in the box score is his defense, which I think was a major part of Duke struggling on that end of the court. And I thought for the third straight game, he didn't do a good job defending. And while he scored 26 points, I feel like he gave up. I don't think he gave up 26, but I think he gave up somewhere between 15 to 18 points in this game. So I do think that is something, and it looked like Georgia Tech was intentionally attacking him, and especially in the first half when Duke was not in the zone. They were targeting him on that end of the court, and it's something I am going to continue to monitor as we go into the Florida State game on Saturday. Anything you want to say on Cam before I move down?
No. I didn't like the 4 turnovers, but he's credited with 2 steals, and almost, you almost could say the turnovers and steals, if you could balance those out, as you'll see with Isaiah Evans, where there's 3 turnovers but 3 steals. In my head, I can almost make that work.
You would like it, certainly for Cam, you would like it to be 4 steals, 2 turnovers, but, listen, Cam Boozer is he's graded on a different scale than everybody else.
Absolutely.
So, if you think we're being harsh on him, it's not out of we love Cam Boozer. It's not out of anything but love. The guy's an amazing player. It's just I feel like defensively the last couple of games it hasn't been there. There have been moments earlier on this season where I feel like he's had slip-ups there, but the totalities of his game have been solid, but the last 3 games have not been. Gangba, 11 points, 9 rebounds, 1 turnover, 2 blocks. I thought he certainly struggled from the free throw line, 4 of 9 there. He knocked down his 1-3 early in the game. It seems like every game there's one of those, which we like. I didn't think in the first half in particular he was aggressive at all offensively. He was passive. If I could use I couldn't use a better word than that. He just wasn't looking to score at all. Now, the second half, I felt like he really turned it up defensively.
Tremendous.
He was much better. He was rebounding. He just seemed much more engaged and aggressive. He still wasn't really getting the free throws to fall. He did end up with a nice 2-for-2 stretch towards the end, but he missed 3, 1 in the first half, 2 in the second, front ends of 1 and 1. So he was the biggest culprit in our 24 of 35 free throw shooting in this one. And again, I think he's going to turn around. He's got really good touch. I think for him right now it's mental more than anything. Evans, we'll do Evans and I'll let you comment on both of the returning sophomores. So Evans had 17 points. He was 7 of 7 from the free throw line. He's the only guy right now when they go to the free throw line that I feel very confident they're going to knock him down. 5 rebounds, which is really good from, I guess he's our small forward at this point with the double guard lineup now. And to your point earlier, 3 turnovers, but 3 steals. So I think, defensively, he did generate some steals. I thought he gave up, a few of the buckets as well. And then offensively, he knocked down a couple threes. He got himself to the free throw line, which was great. But then some of his decisions on the turnovers, I know this is going to sound kind of strange, but I think there are times where there are good turnovers. And what do I mean by that? It's like you see the pass, it was a good idea, but it didn't get there or it was deflected, right? And then sometimes you watch and you're like, man, that was a horrible pass. What was the objective there? And I think there was a couple of those for Evans's turnovers. Would it be tonight or this afternoon? I guess you could say both because we started at 4 but ended at around 6. So, both things would be true. What do you got? What do you think on Evans and Gangba?
They're going to get in this kind of a game, Gangba get a B, Evans would get a B plus maybe because of his free throw shooting when the team shoots 69%. And he can shoot 7 for 7. But he also, 17 points for Evans, 4 for 10 overall, 2 for 7 from three. He's not got a rhythm in the last couple of games on his 3-point shot. And on Gangba, in the first half, there was that one play in particular when he was about, I'm going to say, to the about 8 to 10 feet out on the left side of the basket as you're facing the basket. When he turned, there was no one near him. There was just nobody near him, and he still kept his back to the basket. All he had to do was turn around, and then he had multiple options. He had an option to shoot. He had an option to go to the basket strong. There was no one in front of him. And he also had an option to do what he sometimes does really well, which is he can drive in and then just dish off because people are coming at him. So I certainly agree with you. So let's go to Caden and Caleb because the guard play was just, I think, really good.
Yeah, I agree. I think we should start doing that, by the way. I'm going to give Cam Boozer a B for this game. And I think the start, what'd you give? B and B, what'd you say?
B for Gangba, B plus
for Evans with the free throws. That seems fair. I like this. We got a new thing going when we're doing the stats. So, Caden and Caleb. Caden, in his first career start, played the most minutes he's ever played as a Blue Devil. 13 points, 31 minutes, 5 of 12 from the field, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 turnover, 3 steals. I thought he was excellent in this game and really important. I don't think the Blue Devils win this game without his performance. I'm going to go A-. And that's he's the one thing he has struggled with throughout this year is his 3-point shooting. That would have really helped. He wasn't the only one in this game. We'll get to the bench in just a bit. And Foster, 12 points, 3 of 6 from 3-point line. Really big three. He hit a really big three to extend the Duke lead to 7. That was really clutch. He had 4 assists, 1 turnover. I thought he was really good in this game despite Duke struggling. I give him a B+. I think he had a really solid performance again. And I think the backcourt, in a game where Duke as a collective struggled, we've given everyone in the starting lineup at least a B, which is kind of funny when we get to this point.
Well, it sounds about right. And that Caden and Caleb combined for 25 points and 7 assists, 3 steals, and a combination of 2 turnovers. Boy, that's a productivity we were not seeing in the beginning of the year out of the backcourt. So I feel very good about the progression of the backcourt to add. And we're nitpicking on Cameron Boozer. We give him a B because we grade him on a different scale. And, because it's kind of hard to say he had 26 points, 12, rebounds, but it's kind of interesting. When you look at the stats, steals, 11, that's good as a team. But blocks, as a sign of aggression, a total of 2 from Gangba in that period where he was really, really stepping it up on defense in the second half. And, so look, I might as well get it out of the way here, which is we shoot 69% from the free throw line. We have the Texas Tech game as now, proof that you've got to do better on the free throw line. So, during the break, I was listening to Coach Shires say it's not just that they demand a high number of attempts during practices. They also try to create a game situation where they're yelling, they're doing other things, and yet here we are. It's a real game situation, and we're shooting 24 of 35 for 69%. And, what did we say? You and I were saying, just foul Gangba. Hack a Gamba.
Hack a Duke.
You know, this is, and the Texas Tech game is all the proof you need that this has got to get fixed. And I don't know how you do it if Coach Shire absolutely seems to be doing everything he can to improve it, but unless something changes during game situations, they've got to get over 80% if they're going to win.
Let's go to the bench. I think the bench can be broken into three parts. We'll start with Darren Harris because we can't grade him incomplete because he only got 3 minutes, and it's not fair to Darren. Malik Brown, I thought, certainly gave us life defensively. He had 3 steals. He did have that stretch where he missed the layup, and then he stole it and then gave it away. And then I don't know if they credited him or I think it was Cam for the foul there. But
he also had a number of deflections. He was key on the top of the defense there. So, again, that doesn't show up in the stats so much. So, Malik really did help us. It was almost we know he can even be better than this, but thank goodness he was playing at the level he was defensively.
Right, and for that reason, 4 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 turnovers, 3 steals for Malik. He had 3 offensive rebounds. Should have mentioned Cam had 9 offensive rebounds, which is pretty sick. But to your point on things that don't show up in the stat sheet, going back to Cam, that's the reason why I gave him a B, is because his defense doesn't show up in the stat sheet. That's where it comes down for, and that's why for me, I'm kind of oscillating between B plus and A minus for Malik because of yes, he has 3 steals which show up in the box score, but he made things just very difficult for Georgia Tech with what he was able to do at the top of the zone. And without Malik Brown's defense, this could have had a very different outcome in this game. All right, now we'll get to the third and final part before we get to the medals and then the chat. So we'll be with you guys in just a moment. Dame Sarr and Hamenia. You pointed out before how, the backcourt combined for 25 points, 7 assists, and just the 2 turnovers. Well, our backup wings in 28 minutes combined for 2 points and 2 rebounds. That is...
With Sarr going 0 for 5 from 3 points.
0 for 7 combined between the two of them from 3. 0 for 8 from the floor. These two guys, going back to, was it the Michigan State game or the Florida game? I don't remember, but one of those 2 games, Shire in particular said, Dame and Nick, I've got to help those guys. They're really important for this team. I've got to get those guys going. And they're really... Now, the one thing we can give Nick a little bit of not maybe more than a little bit of slack, because I don't think this is an excuse. I think it's a little bit of a reason. We haven't seen the same Hamenia of late in terms of the aggressive, the diving on the floor, the hustle. And what they said on the broadcast, he hasn't really been practicing with his sprained ankle. And I think he's just been suiting up for the games. And I think in the last couple of games, we haven't seen that same hustle and drive from him. And I do think that is a reason why we haven't seen that from him. But for Dame Sarr, as far as I know, there's no injury. It's just... Now, and the worst part, I think, is the Texas Tech game. He gave us great flashes, both offensively and defensively, in limited minutes. And then you come to this game, and you're hoping he can build off of it. And he just seems to go up and down. It's like yo-yo with him these games. So I don't know, honestly, how Duke is going to get him going. But I do know Duke needs a bench. And it can't just be Malik Brown.
No, and with Dame Sarr, it's we were making excuses early on, saying he's getting used to the college game, the changeover isn't quite the same. We're 13 games in, and so we don't know yet can he perform consistently to supply reinforcements off the bench? Because he's certainly not in the starting rotation as of now.
No. All right, medals before we head to the chat. Gold, Caden Boozer. I thought in his first start he gave Duke tremendous energy. I really think he was really vital for Duke's win. Silver, Cameron Boozer. If his name was Caden Boozer, he would have the gold. But he's graded differently. We just got to keep saying that so everyone's on the same page. And the bronze, Caleb Foster. Thought he was really solid. I think you could make the argument for one of the other three main guys in this game, Malik Brown, for sure. Gangba, maybe a tougher... It is 7 o'clock. Gangba, a tougher argument. And Evans, I think you can make the argument. So I think Evans and Malik, you can make the argument for. I'm here for it, but I'm going with Caleb Foster for the silver. And I'm going to start keeping track of that. So in conference play, we've got Caden with the gold, Cam with the silver, and Caleb with the bronze.
And certainly something else we should make a note of. If you like this show, please subscribe. Give us a like if you have a chance for doing it. That'd be great. And overall, we appreciate it. We're on our way to 2,100 subscribers. Thanks to you all. We love having you here, and it's New Year's Eve, so a shout out to everybody. We thank you all, and let's go to the chat.
Yes, let's go to chat. I want you to read out the first few because I'm going to keep track of our grades for the players as well. Oh, we're going to give grades for Dame and Nick.
C.
Yeah, I was going to say C minus.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
All right. Laura Markle. Happy New Year. I did not think we would ever get to see the game due to the Virginia Tech-Virginia game going to 3 overtimes. Yes, we had to set up our own laptop and watch it on the little screen. We're not certain how many people did get a chance to do that. But there's two ways to look at it. I mean, we didn't think we were ever going to watch it. And on the other hand, every time we looked up, that was a great game. And it was a lot of fun. So, and Laura, I called it at the beginning of the season that Shire needed more to move Caleb off the ball, just like he did last season with Proctor. There is no question you were way ahead of us in terms of the progression of Caleb Foster, in terms of our criticism of him and how he is now settled down into a really important role in this team. And I think it's been great to have him. But let's give credit where credit's due. It's New Year's Eve, the end of this year. You were way ahead of us.
And also, I know you're a Duke football person as well, and there was a big Duke football win today. So 2 big Duke wins, a good day for Duke sports fans. Ben G6P says, love this Duke team. If these guys shot a combined 90% from the free throw line, they would never lose. I mean,
I agree.
I don't think they need to shoot 90%. I think if they shot 75, they would have beat Texas Tech. They'd be undefeated. 70, they would have beat Texas Tech. Yeah, it is the Achilles heel of this team early on. Lawrence Freeman, Happy New Year, boys. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
I missed the entire first half.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Yeah. We got to blame the Virginia schools for that one. But as JD said, a tremendous game. Hey, at least it wasn't simulated golf that we were missing out on here,
Like last year.
Yeah, it was horrible. Yeah. I missed the entire first half, but it seems coach sacrificed for defense, for offense, and started Caden. What do you think? It is a good point. But I also think our defense hadn't been good the prior 2 games, and Caden had been coming off the bench. So And I did think Caden's defense was better in the Texas Tech game, but is he as good of a defender as a Adame Sarr or as big as Hymenia? No. So I do think that's a valid thing, but yeah, I think that's a fair point. It's a fair point, Lawrence. I agree. I agree. And then Lawrence also says it also appeared from the stats we again settled for threes. That's 100% true. Ugh. Especially in the first half. I think we were at a point where 12 of our first 15 or 16 shots were from three, and there was a lot of settled threes. So, yeah, I agree with both of your points there. Quality touch, what's going on? Yo, go to hell, Carolina.
Yes. And a happy new year to you, too.
That's right. Jeremy Farrell, happy new year. Happy new year to you, Jeremy. Duke did okay on the free throws line, but Duke still needs to improve on a lot of stuff. And what happened on the 3-point line? Good Lord, can't make a three-pointer. Go Duke.
All I can say is, could you imagine if we hit, in the same way, if we hit our free throws, 80% is my goal. Could you imagine if we hit 35% from 3-point range? I mean, is that too much to ask for?
No.
I mean, that's a hell of a lot of offense that it seems like we're just giving it away.
It felt like at points in this game Duke was trying to lose. That's what it felt like at certain points in this game. Laura says it looks like the one who needs to go to the free throw line the most. I'm assuming that's when we were talking about Evans. He and Nick are the only two who did not miss their free throws. Yes, let me double check that, but it seems 100% accurate. 2 for 2 for Nick, 5 for 5 from Evans. Yes, couldn't agree more. Laura.
Knicks were also a timely two.
Oh,
they came in. Yes. They were important too, which is that pressure game time situation. So to your point, it's not just that he went 2 for 2; it's when he went 2 for 2. Because I think that may have been, Jack. You take it, but I want to check when he hit his.
Hymenia, it was a big moment. I remember. I also, to be fair, remember saying I didn't think that was much of a foul. When he got his free throws, it seemed like he lunged in. It was a tie game when he got his free throws.
I had it.
I'm looking at it.
Yeah, right.
I'm looking at it.
Enough.
54-54.
It was a close game, and so therefore
falling apart here.
Yep. So it was a close game, and therefore, it's when you hit him and what you do. Just like I wish there was a stat that said what percentage do you hit of your free throws in the final 2 minutes in a 5-point game. But I also wish for other things, so that may not happen.
Mr. Moore says, no spoilers. I'm about to watch the second half. I was busy watching the Sun Bowl. Great day, Duke. And I can't say the rest for monetization purposes here. But yes, I hope we didn't spoil it for you, Mr. Moore. But I could totally understand if you're not watching the rest of the show right now. I hope you can enjoy the rest of the second half of that game to the extent you can in this Duke Georgia Tech game that we had today. Ryan Jones. I don't understand the defensive drop-off lately. A win is a win, but lots to clean up. Loved John giving Caden the start. Nick and Dame have been struggling. Was time for a switch up. Great points, Ryan. We talked about the defense early on. It's the one thing that really bothers me of the performances of late is that the defense has taken almost a 180 compared to what they were. And I also think to take Ryan's point a step further, it's why not giving Darren Harris a run bothers me so much. In that we're not getting anything from Nick and Dame. And maybe it would be good for Nick to get a rest based off of what we're hearing, that he's not practicing, he's only playing in games. Like Darren Harris, that guy is itching to play, and he's been, when he has been getting opportunities, I think he's been giving us something. So I'd like to see him get, some run Saturday. Now, do I expect it to happen at this point? I don't think so, but I would love to see it. I think he actually has shown us good flashes. Laura, Duke ends 2025 winning their opening conference game in basketball and winning their bowl game in football. It is a good day to be a Duke fan. It's funny, I didn't see that comment from you, Laura, but I had a feeling that's what you're thinking. So it is absolutely a good day for Duke athletics here. Ryan Jones, number 14, which is Kawasi Reeves for Georgia Tech, made everything he put up. Dude was a killer. Listen, I don't necessarily. I'd say I bat around 500 with my previews and things I want to look out for. Kawasi Reeves was number 1 on my scouting report coming into this game, and I don't know if you guys remember or if you were able to catch the Duke podcast because I didn't remember this, but Ryan Young, one of JD's favorites for sure. Was back on the podcast, and he said to Foster, he said one of the things the coaching staff said to him in preparation for this game, because I should say he was there because Iffy has a knee injury, so he's filling in as the practice big, is they remind him of Kawasi Reeves dunking, posterizing Ryan Young for Georgia Tech.
It wasn't that hard to posterize Ryan Young. Remember, he was the big ugly. His vertical leap was maybe 6 inches, and but I loved his hustle, and I loved his ability to, if he would go to. This isn't a Ryan Young show. I love him, just loved him.
It's the Ryan Young corner though right now. He had some decent post moves. He was a smart player. He was a good passer. He wasn't a typical Duke player for sure, but at that point in time, in the first 2 years of the Shire tenure, he gave Duke something that they needed, which was a veteran player. But yeah, Kawasi Reeves also detonated. Nobody got in the way in this one. He shook past Caden Boozer on the sideline, and nobody was going to block that one except for. Oh, well, there's 3 guys I could think of in Duke history that may have had a chance. And that would be Mark Williams, Derek Lively, and Kaman Malawach. But outside of those 3 guys, I don't think anybody would have had a chance at blocking that one. GMAT. Good to see Caden have a good game again after kind of struggling a bit for a few games there. Also, Happy New Year. Thanks for hosting this on New Year's Eve. Thanks for joining us, GMAT. Happy New Year to you. And yeah, I think Caden, the past 2 games, he's played really well. And that's it's real positive. I did make a joke though that it is interesting. He gets his first start the day after Duke lands a highly rated point guard in next year's class. So I think I'm not saying anything, but I am saying something there. Ryan Jones, where was Darren Harris? Maybe sick or something with Iffy. He wasn't even at the game. Darren, he did play, but I think he should have played more. And Iffy, I know Ryan said he picked up that knee injury. I'm assuming that's why he wasn't there. Hopefully, it's not too serious and he'll be able to come back because. We like Iffy. We want to see him out there. And we want this Duke team to give Iffy and Jack Scott and Cam Sheffield some opportunities to get in games again. They haven't been doing that. I thought this was a game probably wasn't going to happen, but there was a chance, and certainly Lipscomb was a opportunity for that. So, got to get those guys some playing time. And Anthony Ingram. On defense, it appears they have dead legs. That's an interesting point. They're not moving as well as they did the first 9 games or so. And I wonder if some of that's the extended breaks and maybe they're not as much in rhythm. And it's an interesting point, Anthony.
You would think with the breaks, though, true dead legs, which is always something to look out for, it comes from, playing every day. Usually you say it in the context of you're there's too much defense. There's too much running, whether it's on practices or games. And so with the time off, I don't know why the defense wasn't there, but it did look like their legs were just completely dead.
Yeah, and I maybe dead legs isn't like the right term for it, but I understand what Anthony's saying there. Like, it just didn't seem like they're moving particularly well, and I think that starts with our best player in Cam Boozer, who hasn't been moving well laterally. Now, he's had some moments in games earlier, but I think there's been more of that for sure the last 3 games. Um, and something it's like it's not dead legs, but when you don't work out right for a while, and then you have your first workout back, all of a sudden, things that were easier, a week ago when you haven't worked out in a week are a little bit more difficult.
Well, to that point, Jack, I would think it's the sliding and shifting to have a different defender pick up the guy, and that you would lose if there's a long layoff and you're just not used to, whoever's to your right or to your left picking up the guy. But individually, I didn't expect them to be as tired or lackadaisical. And Shire was a lot of credit for going to the zone. And actually, he had to stay with the zone. Usually, he likes to insert it for a couple of minutes, but he had no choice.
He had to go to the 3 bigs in the zone. Because, it was interesting. Analytically, the advanced stats, those are our 3 best players this year. Malik, Pat, and Cam, of course. So, I thought it was a good adjustment by Shire there. I expect Duke to play better at Florida State, but I think that's going to be a tough game. I think the Florida State fans are going to be fired up for that one. It's their first home conference game. It's against Duke. I think they're going to be really energetic. They're 7-7, so you look past them, but I think it's going to be maybe a little bit tougher game than it looks like on paper, kind of similar to this one. But I do think Duke will be more in rhythm, which I think is going to be a positive. A couple more comments before we've got to sign off. JD's got a big college football game coming up here.
Go Buckeyes.
Laura says, I hope that everyone will have a blessed 2026. Same to you, Laura.
Thank you. And to everybody that's part of our, broadcast.
Yes, thanks for being with us all 2025, and we'll continue to be with you guys for all Duke games, all Duke-related content in 2026. Tyler Keller, Sar, and Nick could be solid off bench, moving Caden Boozer to starting lineup. I like Foster shows off his offense more. Yeah, I think Nick. I have a lot more confidence in Nick than Dame right now. But yeah, I think they could be solid off the bench. I agree, they could be. And GMAT, a lot of them are freshmen too, so they have more drop off after breaks than upperclassmen with more repetitions. I think that's a very good point, GMAT. That's a very good point. The one guy though who has been playing better. It's very interesting because I was just going through everybody in my mind when you said that, is Caden Boozer, who seems to be like the one guy. Foster, in fairness, has been fine.
Well, the one thing about Caden is that we've said it all along. There's this intangible about him playing with his brother, and therefore, it's you just have to look in a direction, and the players. Your brother's going to be there. You know what to do. And I think that's an important part of why he wouldn't have the necessary drop-off, if that's what occurred tonight, as the other players.
All right, and our final comment comes from Anthony Ingram. Florida State always plays like their hair is on fire against Duke, and it's a very good point. I remember off the top of my head the Jared McCain 35-point performance. I believe that was on the road at Florida State. And the Cam Reddish game winner at Florida State. So I'm hoping that Duke wins a little more handily. But if needed, maybe we get another Isaiah Evans game winner or a Boozer game winner. That gives me a little bit of buffer. It could be either Boozer, So any closing comments, JD, before we wrap up?
Happy New Year to everybody.
All right, and we will see you guys shortly. We've got another game Saturday, so I'll have the preview for Florida State up tomorrow night. Have everyone a very happy New Year's Eve. Happy New Year. Until next time, peace.